Now, Paul Mobley says that they're actually on top of that building. Obviously, he's a pro-nuclear troll, and he wants me to stop using this depiction because he says they're actually there.
Dana, you just lost all your credibility with the subs that we have in common because all those subs know that I'm not pro nuclear. You just lost it all. Don't you understand this, Dana? By you attacking me and saying I'm pro nuclear, you completely lost all your credibility. That was easy. You just lost it. You called me pro nuclear. Dana, don't you understand what that means? You called me a pro nuclear troll. I don't think you grasp what just happened to you, what you just did. I seen your, not sure who it was, but they mentioned maybe Paul will call in. She's one of my subs. That's why she didn't agree with you. That's why nobody in that comment, in that live chat, attacks Paul Mobley. Because the vast majority of them know who Paul Mobley is. Dana. We're going to break it all down. But you already lost. Right off the get-go, Dana. You already lost off the get-go. You called me a pro-nuclear troll, and I am anti-nuclear more than you. I am anti-nuclear. Genius.
This was reactor 3, and reactor 3 is the same thing where the fuel pool is at the very top of the building. And you can see the building is flattened. It's completely flattened.
Say what? You said it was completely flattened? Completely flattened. See the different scale photos, people? The one on the right side is animation. Something made on a computer. Left side's an actual photo. But notice the foreground. What is in front of the foreground? Do you guys know how much further down it goes than where that car's sitting? And he shows you later. He'll show you the other side of the building. Where you actually see it, where the excavator is sitting. How tall is that excavator, Dana? How tall is that excavator? Hmm? You can use things in the photos to figure out the height. Not this photo, because he's using it on purpose. Because it's only showing the level above. I wish I could, the way I got it here. If you look off to the left, okay, and I explained this in the last video that I did about Dana. Everything above that steam is above the operating floor line. You can see the ribs of the building. Everything below is full concrete. You're talking just a little bit above the I don't know what color that is, brown or red, but that brownish red building in the foreground. Just above that, you're actually getting into the operating floor line. So the whole 3/4 of the building is you can't even see it. So he's fooling you. He's absolutely trying to fool you with this photo, the side-by-side comparison. This is absolutely trying to fool you. He's lying. He's trying to fool you here. People, wake up. Moving on. Don't worry, I'll get to it. I'm gonna use my photos and I'm gonna show you and we'll match them up. But we're gonna move on and we're gonna keep on showing his and I'm gonna explain things, and then we'll come in and put photos in and compare what he has to what I have. Okay?
And so this is what's left of the building. Obviously, that's not 60 feet high. It's not 70 or 80 or 90 or 100 or 110 or 120 or 130 or 190 feet high, right?
All right, guys. The yellow line is the operating floor line. If you follow the yellow line that is at the top of that building, the black line is the ground. In this diagram, over to the ground, right next to that excavator that's sitting next to the building. Remember that building he said is completely flattened? Well, this is the other side of that building. Okay? And this is possibly a year later, definitely months later after they cleared the top off of it. So this is a different time that he's trying to show you, and it's different scales. Okay? We have a diagram of the building. Everything is lining up perfectly. Can you see it? Everything's lining up perfectly. The black line's the ground. Everything below the black line is below the ground. The other lines line up with the other sections perfectly, if you notice. So you can't refute this, Dana. You cannot refute this. This lines up perfectly. You cannot say that the fuel pools blew up because the top of the building blew off. Just the top section where the crane is up there. See? It's all a skeleton up there. Everything below that is really thick concrete. See the diagram? That's really thick concrete. So, there you have it. There you have it, Dana. If you can use pictures, so can I. This refutes all your pictures. Everything you've ever put out, this refutes them. But I have more. We're going to talk about what went over these buildings and why they look different than what you're trying to show. Okay, we'll move on to the next one.
Max fuel probably caused a nuclear explosion in number 3 spent fuel pool.
Okay, guys, I want you to pay attention to his source. 99.9% of his source is E&E News. We all know E&E News has been disbanded years ago because many of their articles were not correct. Okay? They jumped the gun, just like Dana. They jumped to conclusions before any information was released. Many of his articles come from March, April, May of 2011. Okay, Mox fuel was probably caused nuclear explosion in number 3. We know it didn't. This was from 2011. This is 10 years ago, Dana. This is almost 10 years ago. December 28, 2011. We now know 10 years later that the explosion originated in the pressure vessel. It was under pressure. And when the hydrogen gas met oxygen, that created the reaction and caused the explosion. It's different than Unit 1. Unit 1 wasn't under pressure. It was just oxygen or hydrogen built up in the upper part of that building, in that open area where the crane is. And when that buildup of hydrogen / everything else, the inert gases, xenon 133 and all that, it meant the oxygen and then blew. This is not a nuclear reaction. You were wrong, Dana. E&E News is wrong, Dana, and there's a reason why you can't find E&E News anymore. There's a good reason for it. They aren't just trying to silence anti-nuclear people. Okay? We're going to see all his sources, and they're all E&E news. The vast majority of them. Anything newer, he has to find something else. But anything older, pay attention to the dates and times and the source. E&E news. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. But the MOX fuel wasn't just in the spent fuel pool, Dana. The MOX fuel was inside the pressure vessel, inside the reactor. That's what they found around the site. That's the plutonium they found around the site, the MOX fuel. Not the spent fuel. Some of it could be from the burning off of the water and all that. We don't know exactly what happened to the fuel. You can't say one way and I can't say the other. But you can't keep on definitely telling everyone that they definitely blew up, because we know they didn't. Now we can debate how much of the fuel might have melted. We can debate how much is still intact. We can debate all that. That is debatable, sure. But you cannot keep on telling people that it blew up, the spent fuel pools, because it didn't. E&E News is wrong, and you are wrong to continue 10 years later using the same nonsense, confusing people, little old ladies that don't know any better, sending you their retirement money to fill up your boat and your gut. Fatty. All right. We'll keep on moving along. Keep moving along, Dana. You need to exercise.
So the fuel pool is at the very top of the building. And it's hard to appreciate how big the building actually is, but...
Alright, guys. Here's the different view. It's hard to tell how big the building is, right? Yeah, it's hard to tell, isn't it? Especially when you got people trying to pull the wool over your eyes. See the difference now? Can you see how he's playing games? See, it's completely flattened on this side. But on this side, it's much, much bigger. And you got plant life in the way. So you can't really see where the ground actually is. Right? Right? Do you suppose Dana knows anything about gamma attenuation? Or Townsend electron avalanche? Because of the orbitals? Quenching gas? Do you suppose he knows any of that, guys? Uranyl ion? Have you ever heard him talk about the uranyl ion? No? Inverse square law? You heard him talk about that? Planck's law? Coulomb's law? Peckel effect? Absorbed dose? Does he know how to calculate absorbed dose? Which is 1, range. 2, deposition through the range. 3, area of irradiation, which is the inverse square law. And 4, density of the means. And then in conversion, RIM and rad. Yep. You suppose he knows that? I don't think so. He's a fake, people. He's using E&E News and their articles that have since been disbanded. You can't find them. And it's a bunch of people guessing on what happened early on. Now we definitely know some certain things that they didn't know. And he keeps on pushing those sort of stories that they didn't know back then. But now we know. Can you guys see? It should be plain as day now. I mean, my gosh. That building is not flattened like he tried to say in the picture to the left earlier on. So, debunked, man. Every single one, Dana. Debunked. You're a liar. You're a parasite. Sucking on other people's money that they worked hard for and lying to them the whole time. Yeah, we're going to put a stop to this right now. We're going to keep on going.
Nuclear physicist suspects number 3 MOX fuel spent fuel rods have spread out and surrounding areas contaminated with plutonium, which is neutron emitter. You can never return to this place again, which is correct, right?
What's correct is they found plutonium around the site. On May 9th, 2001, they were unaware of exactly where it came from. Dana. May 9th, 2011, E&E News again. Yet again. Nuclear physicist. Who was this nuclear physicist? See? There's no naming of the source. There's no information other than just a few lines here from E&E News. From E&E News. E&E News. E&E News. Moving on. It was in the pressure vessel when it exploded. That's what was in the reactor. Was MOX fuel in the reactor. Get it right, Dina. The fuel pools didn't blow up. And there was no nuclear reaction. That was a pressure release. Moving on, guys. Sorry to kick a dead horse, but he's been kicking a dead horse for 10 years. That horse is tired of it. Moving on.
Japan expert, it was a nuclear explosion. And number 3, I believe the fuel rods were blown out of the spent fuel pool. So when you look at what's left of reactor 3, there's no pool. And so the pools, as you can see to the right, were at the very top of the building. But Paul Mobley thinks that...
No, I don't think, Dana. I know they removed the fuel and the pictures are real. I know they are. Because there's pictures. You don't have any pictures of what you're saying. Nothing. You have absolutely nothing of what you're saying. And the pictures you are using, you're completely wrong about. I just showed them. You're completely wrong about them. The operating floor line, Dana, get it right. You need to find that. You're completely lost. And yet another E&E News. Another E&E News expert, Japan expert. So an expert on Japan. It was a nuclear explosion at reactor number 3. I believe, so this Japan expert believes the fuel rods were blown out of the spent fuel. So, oh gosh, then it has to be because a Japan expert. Sorry, I didn't mean to get loud on you guys. But a Japan expert, since he said back in December 13th of 2011 that since he's an expert in Japan, that he believes, not that he knows, but he believes the fuel rods were blown out and that it was a nuclear explosion. That is false. Completely 100% false. Completely 100%, Dana. And you were false. You need to go crawl in a hole somewhere and shut up. You've been talking way too long. Yes, you're wrong. The fuel pools did not blow up. It was not a nuclear explosion, Dana. And E&E News is wrong. That's why they are disbanded and no longer exist. Learn uranyl ion. Learn oxidized crust. What happens with water solubility. Find out what it takes to make uranium. Take a natural form of uranium or even one of those pellets. Find out what it takes to actually make that oxidized. because it takes a rather strong acid to make it that actually oxidized. But once it melts down and forms an oxidized crust itself, then it becomes water soluble. It doesn't take an acid no longer. The water doesn't need to be acidic. Alright, moving on. You're wrong, Dana.
So the pools, as you can see to the right, were at the very top of the building. But Paul Mobley thinks that that picture there is actually real and that they got the fuel out of the pool. So he's obviously a nuclear troll. And he praises, he says, I get thousands of views on my videos. Obviously, he's never been to my site. Explosion at Fukushima Unit 3 drove the nuclear fuel out of the storage pool, scattered up to 2 miles away. So when you look at the picture to your left, that's pretty easy to appreciate, right?
Okay, easy to appreciate. What do you mean easy to appreciate? How can you appreciate anything with your comparison of these two different photos, Dana? Of which the one on the right isn't even correct. You can't even tell what's going on there, honestly. It looks like the reactor's outside of the building. Okay, you're wrong. The operating floor line. You can see it right there in the picture to the left. Even your picture. You can see the operating floor line. It is the yellow line and the one up above. It's where the concrete ends and the skeleton starts for the upper part of the building. This is very simple, Dana. This is so easy to debunk what you're saying. Because you don't think that top portion is the operating floor line. The yellow line you don't think is the operating floor line. You think it's the what? The next line down? The red one? Is that where you think it's at? Or maybe the next one, since you said it was flattened, right? Remember? It's flattened. If it was flattened, it would be lower than that excavator. That boom arm. It would be lower than that arm. And it's not. It's not flattened. And in fact, 3/4 of it is still standing. And the meat of it, what is supposed to still stand, is still standing. And the fuel pools is holding water. Yes. So we must move on. This is getting long. This is going to be a long one, guys. So, strap in. On to the next one. Debunked again.
So they covered it up. They built this structure. It doesn't touch the remains of the building. It's 177 feet high.
Yes. They put a cover over it that doesn't touch the building. Yes. One side touches the turbine building. Yes. That's why it looks so nice in there, because there's a cover over the top of it. And they're walking on top of the operating floor line, just like they would normally do. And all they did was build a roof over like what was on there before, but this time it's in a cylindrical shape instead of, you know, the rest of the square of the building. So it's the same thing on top of it to hold the crane. So yes, this is not out of the question, Dana. This makes perfect sense. Yes. Yes. They build a structure just like over Unit 4. They built a structure over the top of it, and they cleaned off the top of it as best as they could. And yes, they did. Yes, this is very not only plausible but probable and definite common sense, Dana. You're doing it to get money from little old ladies that are writing songs about you. I'm glad she took it down. I'm glad she doesn't have that song about you up anymore, because I went and looked for it. She's a sweet old lady. Very sweet. I've talked with her before. You're wrong, Dana. And you're right, you don't get thousands of views. You used to, but you do have thousands of subscribers, which doesn't match your view count. Mine doesn't either, but mine isn't thousands off. Something's wrong there, Dana. Wonder what that is. Do you understand this picture now, Dana? Do you understand why it's so tall? And how it's just about as tall as it used to be? Why that is? With about the same amount of height for the crane? It's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing, Dana. Wow. Come on, genius. Keep up. On to the next. Debunked again.
Most of the plutonium from the MOX fuel fallout will drop on the United States unless the wind carries it somewhere else. But it did show up throughout all of the northern hemisphere right away. Okay, so he also says reactor 4 fuel pools are intact. So he says at the top of the building to the right, it actually looks like that. It doesn't look like that to the left. It looks like this. That's obviously a pro-nuclear troll, folks. So he says she's actually on top of the building to the left in that pool.
We are here inside Reactor 4 at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant that was severely crippled during the earthquake and tsunami of 2011, leading to the country's worst nuclear disaster.
Okay, so obviously she's lying.
All right, Dana. Here's a diagram of how Unit 4 is. They built a structure on top of the building that was already existing above the operating floor line. They took the top off, the remainder of what was left, and then they built this structure over the top of it. It's enclosed over the top of it. That's why it looks like a building they're standing in, because it is a building they're standing in. It's a structure they made. Nuh-uh, Pa, it's just a diagram. Okay. Well, here's a real picture of it. Here's a real picture of the structure that they built over the top of it. You can see the building to the left, the actual reactor building. And then the structure is by itself, standalone, over the top of it. Yes, Dana, you are a liar. You are a liar. Stop lying to people. The truth is important, because if those spent fuel pools didn't blow up, and they didn't do what you said, then that changes things drastically. Drastically, Dana. For 10 years, you've been lying to people. And we're setting the record straight right now. That structure exists. They pulled the fuel out of it. They put them on them trucks, and they took them to the common fuel pool. Yes, they did. You are a liar. You don't have any other evidence to prove otherwise. You have no evidence of the fuel still in Unit 4. You have no evidence of it, so you cannot say it. But we have evidence of a structure. We have evidence of a truck pulling it out. So yes, we do. I trust that more than I trust you, Dana. Some diver that has no clue what he's talking about. You're a diver that took screenshots of E&E News and have been using E&E News for over a decade now. Shut your mouth, you parasite. Shut your mouth. And your viewers need to quit sending you money. I hope they never send you any more money, because you are a liar. You're a parasite. Feeding off them. I make no money. No money off this. I am not pro-nuclear. I'm not tied to nuclear at all. And you saying that is absolutely ridiculous. People that know me are laughing at you, Dana. People that actually know me, even our subs that we have together, are laughing at you. It's hilarious. All right, we're going to move on. Debunked again. There's a structure over Unit 4 and they pulled the fuel out. Yes, they did. Liar. Moving on.
On March the 16th, radiation levels around the plant prevented helicopters from dumping water on the spent fuel rods at Fukushima. Okay, that's the 16th. On the 17th of March, the next day, spent fuel pool in reactor 4 is damaged and leaking fast. On March the 18th, radiation is streaming into the atmosphere after number 4 pool boiled dry in a fire, which meant you lost all that inventory. I'll show you the pictures to go along with this. And on the 16th, the government has said that it's empty. The heat had caused the fire. Number 4 had boiled at the boiling point. It's now empty on the 16th. Arnie Gunnarsson is like Paul Mobley, is pretending that that is actually this building here. And so, like, I can't ignore the reality just because that's not what we do here. We talk about the facts, we show you the documentation.
Now, the division I ran built nuclear fuel racks for boiling water reactors exactly like Fukushima. And Unit 4...
So he made the assemblies for the pool behind him. Now, the picture to the right is the actual building.
He's so repetitive, isn't he? No, Dana, you just got done showing, what, 4 E&E News articles in a row? You're relying on E&E News? Is that what you're doing? Now you're trying to compare these two different buildings, of which the one on the left has the structure and the one on the right does not have the structure. Dana, you're lying. The one on the left has the structure. The one on the right you're showing doesn't have the structure. Let's show the structure, Dana. Let's show them the structure. You know, this one up here. That's what you should be showing. The one on the left is what looks like the one on the right. You can clearly see the one on the left is very tight quarters. It's not open space. Very tight in there. You're debunked again, Dana. We're going on over half an hour now of me debunking you over and over and over and over again. I hope your subs see this. I hope they see it. I've been trying to tell you this for years. You blocked me. I wasn't disrespectful. I just disagreed with you. I seen you block somebody the other day because they didn't like the F word. So you dropped it 10 times in a row and then blocked them. Just because they didn't like the F word. Completely controlling the narrative. I've had people disagree with me on my channel before, and I've left their comments before. Yes, I have. I get rid of those that are disrespectful to me and my subs. It's the only time that a person gets blocked, when they can't just show simple respect. And you show no respect towards anyone. Only those that send you money. It's the only people you show respect to. I ain't sending you a dime, Dana. And I hope nobody sends you any more money. Debunked, Dana. They took the fuel out of number 4. Moving on. We're getting close to the end, guys. Sorry this is taking so long, but this must be documented. He must be shown to be a liar. And he has ruined people's lives. He has caused people to think of Fukushima in a way that it isn't. Let's get something straight here. Fukushima is a problem. It is a global problem. But it isn't what Dana is saying it is. It is not what Dana is saying it is. He is lying to you people. Alright, moving on.
Xenon, of course, in Washington was 450 times above detection levels after Fukushima and persisted for weeks, which meant there was a continuous plume.
No, that's not what that means. It doesn't mean that there was a continuous plume. It just means that it was 450,000 times above detection levels after Fukushima. Persisted for weeks. Now, I don't believe it was 450,000 times that entire 2 weeks. I'm certain it fluctuates up and down, Dana. All these little minuscule lies you're telling, you have to stop this. People take that seriously. The little things you say. Little stuff like this. This is Xenon 133. This is the gas I was talking about that built up in the pressure vessel. That blew up. And when it was steaming, this is what the gas is. This is the gas. You'll find this a lot in Chernobyl. About Chernobyl. It was about the xenon poisoning and the iodine and all that. I know. I know, Dana. Because I studied this. I know. You are a liar. I'll tell you to your face. You can bark all you want. You can say the F word all you want. You don't scare me. You won't bully me. You won't, Dana. Go ahead and get loud, because I get loud too. My bite's a lot worse than my bark, though. I'm usually pretty quiet, as you can tell. You're debunked, Dana. Liar. We're going to move on. Okay, now the end of this. Dana, I have proved everything you have said wrong. Completely wrong. From top to bottom. You need to stop taking money from people. Even if you don't know you're lying, it's still not right that you're taking money, unknowingly lying to people, and making them think a certain way about this incident. And that is unacceptable. You're making it harder for everyone else who knows what they're talking about with this incident to get the word out. I am not pro-nuclear, genius. Look at my videos. One point I want to make that I didn't prepare anything here for. You said I said that the water contains only tritium and it's harmless. Wow, genius. Have you seen the spreadsheet that I made? No, obviously not, because I made a spreadsheet from the numbers that TEPCO released that were still in the tanks. And I found that there's 67 billion becquerels still left in the 250 tanks out of the 1,000, over 1,000 that are at the site. Because the 250 are the second stage of the Alps. Did you know that, Dana? 250 for the first stage, 250 for the second. Did you know that? No? It's over 500 of untouched tanks. Untouched. You're a liar. You're a liar. I'm not pro-nuclear. I don't think the water is harmless. In fact, I debate more than anyone that says that the water isn't harmless. And all you care about is protecting your money that's coming in. It's completely obvious to everyone. Now you pissed me off. Calling me names. Calling me a troll. Same type of crap Craig was doing. Craig Douglas. Forbid TV. AKA Dana Durnford and Kevin Blanche debunked. Yeah, I run into him all the time. You're just like him. In it for the money. Because you're a liar. You're wrong. You need to make a video and say, okay, I'm wrong. Because I just proved you're wrong with all these photos right here. With all this information. You are wrong. You're wrong, Dana. I want to keep making videos until you're done. Now you made me mad. I tried to do this politely. I tried to do this nicely. I tried to show you respect. And this is how you do it. This is what happens. You prey on little old women that'll make a song about you. You take their money. And you block anyone that knows better. Shut your mouth. And keep my name out of your mouth, Dana. You heard me. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I hope my viewers did. I know my subs think Dana's full of hot air. Some of them. They've already spoken with me. There's a lot of them that think he's full of hot air. Nonsense. Which is true. So, alright, this has taken me forever. And I'm not going to spend any more time on it. Today. Alright guys. Bye.